What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode. I'm very excited to get started on this thing. And if you guys remember a couple videos ago, we actually got this thing running, had to clean some points on it, put a new carb on it, a few other small things. It sat for God knows how long. And in case you forgot, this is the 1973 Wheelhorse Ranger 700. Kind of an oddball little mower. Now these came brand new back in 73 with a little 7 horsepower Tecumseh engine, a 3-speed gearbox, and that's about it. There's no electronics on this other than the kill switch, there's no battery, there's no lights, there's nothing. Now if you guys watched the last video on this, at the end of it I asked your guys' opinion on what I should do with it. It being a very small chassis mower, I was on the fence between two different options really. It was either Predator swap it, make a race mower out of it, or do a restoration on it. To me, it just makes sense to do a restoration on it instead of hacking it up to make a race mower out of it. To start with, we are going to get that old engine pulled off. I want to take a look at the bolt pattern and the drive belt setup, stuff like that. And hopefully by the time that I get that engine pulled off, I will have decided on what engine I want to put on it. So anyway, enough small talk. Let's get this thing picked up with the ceiling hoist and see if we can get some engine bolts loose, unhook the throttle cable, all that good stuff, fuel line, and get this old boat anchor out of the way. Guys, I know I say this a lot, but this tool here was worth every penny. I mean, look at this thing. Got it stood straight up and down, didn't break a sweat or nothing. So now I could sit here on my stool and drink a cold snack and look at what we got going on here. Whoa. Oh yeah. It has been freed. Well, since we got the engine off of it, I think we should probably go ahead and start tearing the body panels off of it. Well, that was fun. So I'm trying to get the steering shaft out because I can't pull the body off unless I pull the steering shaft out of it. I can't get the roll pin to drive out of the steering wheel on that end. My plan was just to take that off and pull the shaft out this way. Well, that's seized up and I can't get it. So I came down here, and on the bottom of the steering shaft, you have this little gear, and there is a bolt that retains this, but it's a pressed on gear. So I took the old 2-jaw puller to it and put some pressure on it, and after about 6 cranks, that thing went flying. Unfortunately, the camera wasn't rolling, but we are making progress. Jeez, that was a mess. If this ain't the most convoluted deck tensioner, belt tensioner, brake clutch linkage I've ever seen. Man, it'll be a miracle if I can get all this put back together right. But we're getting there. All we got to worry about now is getting the rear end off of it and doing away with all those electronicals that don't work no more. Get the front axle off, wheels and tires. Oh yeah. Be gone. Guys, I'm going to take a little break away from working on that because I have got an item that a company sent me to try out that I want to show you guys. So this company, GOOLOO, sent me an email and said, hey, we got a jump starter we would like for you to try out on your channel. And here we are. So it's a 4,000 amp jump starter. I'll show you the back of the box there if you guys want to pause it, see what all it says. I know it's got a force start function. It's got a flashlight built into it, a couple of the other good things. It also claims it'll do just about any gas-powered engine, also just about any medium-duty diesel engine it'll also handle. I gotta say, I was very impressed by the quality of the shipping. What you see here is what you get. Real nice user's manual. These are our jump leads here, and here's the jump pack itself. It also comes with a cigarette lighter output and a couple other different little tools here that you can plug into this thing. Now it does simply charge off a USB-C, so if you've got a new iPhone, the charger for that will work just fine for this. It's also got USB outs, so if you want to charge something else. There's the flashlight. Seems to work pretty good. And again, it just feels like a good quality item. You know, you could buy some of those things and they feel real chintzy. But I know the perfect thing to test this thing out on. Well, we are outside here in the Dragging Up junkyard. And this 416H will probably look familiar to some of you guys. This was the one I brought home with a broke rod. It would end up being actually a two-part video. I ended up completely turning the engine apart and rebuilding it with a used connecting rod from another junk engine. But yeah, as soon as I finished that last video, I literally drove this thing outside and parked it right here, and it has not moved. So because of that, the battery that's in it is dead. So we're going to test out this jump pack on it and see if we can get this thing to fire up. So pretty simple. Black to black, red to red. You guys ain't gonna be able to see it, but it has got an indicator light on the smart leads that tells you if you have a good connection or not. And if for some reason your battery is too dead and it doesn't register it, that's what the force start function's for. So we're gonna hit the key here and see what happens. It's got fuel in it. Let's keep going here. Look at that. That's awesome. Yeah, guys, I'm definitely impressed with this thing. If any of you guys are looking for a good quality jump pack, I highly recommend you go check this one out. I will have the link for this in the description. And because I know I didn't mention it, it does come with a charging cable and also comes with a USB-C to C cable as well. So I'm going to get this thing zipped back up, and it's going to go in the toolbox of the truck for our next rescue. Boy, do we have a mess of parts here. I never would have guessed this little mower had this many little parts and pieces to it. But we got a stripped down frame. All these inner panels here, these are all welded in place from the factory, so there's no taking these off unless I got the old grinder out, and I'm not gonna do that. But no rust holes. Pretty solid. I'll have to make sure we snatch that vent plate off too before we go sandblasting it. And you know, that's something else, guys. This thing is 50 years old, give or take. And knock on wood, I'm gonna regret saying this. I did not break one nut or bolt. Even them Phillips head screws came out of this thing. And I'm just shocked at the condition of this thing. So I think the next thing we're gonna do, get this thing ready to be sandblasted. I've got this linkage, I've got these smaller pieces I'll put in a blast cabinet, get that stuff pulled apart. The front axle, we'll have to get that tore down. We still got to try to get the wheels and tires off this thing, and I'm hoping they're going to come off without a fight. Yeah, get to working on this small stuff, getting it all cleaned up, getting it sandblasted. Now, I know nobody likes an oil leak, but I'm going to say that they're not always that bad. So this is obviously the other side of the axle. I've already taken the snap ring and the washer out. And you can see this is saturated because it's been leaking for a very long time. But look at this. Slides right off. Huh. That's what we're going to be fighting on the other side, is that keyway. They always seize up. So I'm going to get to work on that. Hopefully not tear nothing up. I just spent the last 10 or 15 minutes just going over this thing with a little scraper, getting the big chunks of grease off of it. I think we are ready to drag this outside and get it sandblasted. Now, normally you guys have seen me use a pressure pot, a dry blaster. I never could get that thing dialed in right. My cabinet works good, but that pressure pot, I just couldn't get it working right. So I'm gonna try something a little bit different. These are slowly starting to make their way around social media, and that's actually how I found this one. What this is, I call it a hydro blaster. It goes in the end of your pressure washer, and it's actually a siphon, and it'll draw your blasting media from your bucket or whatever, and it uses your pressure washer's pressure to blast paint off stuff. Seems to have decent reviews. This thing altogether out of the box, this is what you get. I mean, this feels like good quality brass, decent material. You get some extra nozzles, a couple extra hose clamps, and some safety glasses. So for 30 bucks, I'm gonna try it and see. And yeah, I'll bring you guys back when I get it set up. Well, there's the end result. It's crazy how fast this will flash rest on you. Yeah, that thing don't work too bad. I did fight a couple issues trying to get it to feed consistently, but I feel like that's a problem with about any siphon style sandblaster. But whenever it was feeding right and everything else was working right, it worked great. I'm going to go through and clean it up real quick, just touch up a few spots and get some primer put on this. That way it doesn't completely flash rust overnight. So well, we got some primer put on these smaller pieces. I'm probably just going to do the rattle can treatment on these. I've used this Rust-Oleum International Red before. It's a pretty close to match to the paint I'm going to use to actually spray the body with. So these smaller pieces, I'm going to use the rattle can, and when I do the chassis and the body work, I'll actually use my paint gun and spray it.
You guys ever start a project and then kind of lose motivation? Yeah, that's kind of what happened here. So that last clip you just watched, I filmed that almost 3 months ago. I was super busy at work, other things going on, but it is now winter and I have got plenty of time to get some of these projects finished up. So we're back on this thing. Nothing really happened off camera. I would chip away at this, just getting some more panels stripped off of it. We are ready to get the fiberglass body panels sanded and ready for paint. For now, I'm just going to go at it with some 220 sandpaper, maybe use a palm sander in the flat spots, and hopefully get this thing stripped down to a good base to where we can get some primer put on. I want to take a quick break from the sanding real quick to show you guys a repair we're going to have to do. So this is the grill off the mower, obviously. Overall, the condition of the fiberglass on this mower is in really good shape for being 40 years old. However, there are a couple cracks. Since this is on the bottom of the hood, this is where the hinge goes. This is a pretty high stress area. I'm going to show you guys how to do some fiberglass repairs. Now, it's not hard by any means, and actually, everything you're going to need, you can go to your local Walmart and pick it up off the shelf. This is the Bondo brand fiberglass resin. This is some of the fiberglass mat. And pretty much all you're going to do to prep this, go through with a flat disc or something, and you're going to want to blend the crack back, rough the area up. That way the resin's got something to attach to. And that's pretty much it for prep work. Now, before you go mixing up your resin, you do want to go through and go ahead and get your patches cut to size. That way you're not in a rush trying to get these done while this is hardening. There's really no science to this. You can cut these as big as you want, as small as you want. So on this case here, with the crack being where it's at, I'm going to end up doing one on the outside and the inside, kind of sandwich it together. And the beautiful thing about this, if you make the patch too big or you get too much resin somewhere, all you got to do is go back in with a flat disc and you can sand it all down. So I've got my 2 patches ready to go, so I'm going to go ahead and mix this up. Now, when it comes to the mixture of this stuff, I'm sure there's a science to it for people that's smarter than me. And yeah, I know I'm pouring out of the wrong side of the can, but I've had this can of resin for about 4 years now. And yeah, I have to make a new hole in it anytime I want some out of it because it's hardened up on me. I think they say for like every quarter size amount of resin, you want 1 drop of the hardener. So again, I'm sure there's a science to it. You really can't get it that wrong. 5 or 6 drops in it. And then it's just a matter of mixing it, just like any kind of JB Weld or Bondo with hardener. So when you think you got it mixed up good enough, go ahead and start putting some of your resin on the area you want to put the patch on. Once you get a good base of the resin, you're going to go ahead and put your patch, and then it's just a matter of working it in. And essentially, you want to get all the air worked out between the patch and the surface. This stuff is incredibly messy, by the way. So if it's your first time, I would not blame you one bit if you wore gloves. But you can see how that patch went from the white color to the color of the resin. That's a good indicator that we've got enough resin worked into it. I'm going to do the same on the inside. It's going to be a little bit harder to show you guys, so I'll just bring you back when I'm done. Got both sides put on there with some goop. We're going to let that harden up, and we're going to go at it with the old sand disc and clean it up. I just want to show you guys what the finished product is on that fiberglass. I got it sanded, got it roughed in. I think it looks pretty good. Let's go get some primer put on this. Well, it is finally paint day. This project's been going on for about 3 months now. Been chipping away at it. I finally got all the body panels primered and wet sanded, and they are ready to spray. Last time I did paint work on the channel, I had some people asking me about what ratio to mix this stuff at. This is off the shelf enamel tractor paint from like Rural King, and I actually thin it down with some acetone. I don't really have an answer for the ratios. All I can tell you is you kind of just mix it until it looks right, where it looks thin enough to go through a paint gun, and that's how I do it. So
We got it going through a strainer. As soon as that's done, we are going to dump some acetone in it, get it thinned out, and we will be ready to spray. Well, all in all, it's looking pretty good, guys. I don't know if you guys have ever done your own paintwork before, but it's usually a pretty scary first 5 or 10 minutes. This is only the second time I've ever actually used that spray gun. So as you guys saw when I first started painting that hood over there, I was having some issues. But luckily, when I moved on to the other 3 pieces here, I had it dialed in pretty good. Using this type of paint, this tractor paint off the shelf, I've never used clear coat with it. Normally, whenever it dries, it's actually got a pretty nice gloss to it. But yeah, like I said, the rest of this stuff, it laid down pretty good. I'm sure there's going to be some imperfections in it, but that's just the way it goes when you paint stuff in your garage and not an actual paint shop. I gave this stuff about a day to harden up and cure a little bit. For the most part, it's fully cured. I figured I'd go over and show you guys how it turned out. Yeah, I am extremely happy with how it turned out. Now, obviously, there are some places I could go through and nitpick where the paint was a little light, where it's got some orange peel going on. For example, the first piece I started with was the outside of this hood, and as you guys can see, it's orange peeled real bad. The paint's kind of hit or miss, and that all came down to me not mixing the paint thin enough. Now, the smart thing to do would have been to start on the inside of the hood in case it wasn't dialed in, and that way it would somewhat be hidden, and you could paint over it and it wouldn't be as noticeable. But again, lack of knowledge, I didn't know. I thought I had it dialed in, and yeah. So by the time I got the other pieces, like I said, I had the pressure dialed in just right. I had the feed rate dialed in. The mixture was just right, and it laid down really good. But for using a $10 paint gun and a $30 can of paint from Rural King, I am beyond thrilled with how this turned out. I'm not trying to win any shows with my paint jobs. I'm just trying to make stuff look a little bit better for not that much money. And case in point, if I can do it, you guys can do it. If you've got any questions about trying to get started on this, feel free to shoot me a comment or send me a message, and I'll do what I can to help you guys out. I just want to give you guys a little update on where I'm at on this thing. Slowly chipping away on it. I figured today I'd go ahead and tackle these axle shaft seals. I managed to actually find some of these on the old eBay. Somebody had some new old stock, so this is the one that was leaking. I've actually about got it completely out now. Word of advice, make sure you match up the seal numbers before you go destroying the one that you got. Camera's not gonna work with me, but this one's a 1054 XL. And our new one is also a 1054 XL. Well, I got that new seal installed, and instead of trying to tap it in with a hammer, I found this socket in my box. I believe is that 1-inch drive or 3/4 inch drive. Anyway, it fits over this shaft perfectly, and I actually used it kind of like a slide hammer. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this outer housing on, then we'll do the other side. Well, I just want to give you guys an update. I got the seals replaced in that rear end. However, I'm still waiting on the weather to break so I can take it outside and pressure wash it and get it painted. In the meantime, slowly but surely, this thing's starting to get pieced back together. I know it looks like I've made a lot of progress, but there's still a long ways to go. I mostly just got the body bolted back down, the seat put back on, and I got the steering wheel somewhat put back in place. I also reinstalled the front axle and the spindles. Yeah, like I said, we got a long ways to go. I just want to give you guys an update. It's getting pieced back together.
Yeah, probably.
Well, I didn't think we'd ever get to this point, but we are finally at the point to start talking about some engine options. Now, I tell you guys that it was about impossible to find an engine for this thing. I ain't lying. So if you remember, this thing came with a 7 horsepower Tecumseh engine. We managed to get it running. If you go back to the revival video, it ran, just not very good. I tried sourcing rebuild parts to rebuild that thing. The money I would have spent trying to get them, if I could even find the parts, it just wasn't worth it to me. I said to heck with it. I ran to Harbor Freight. I picked up this engine right here. This is their 173cc vertical shaft engine. I've already taken the engine out of the box. I've already kind of mocked it up on this, and I want to show you the work I'm going to have to do to make this thing actually work. So as you can see, it's a pretty tight fit in there. The way the shaft's coming out, we should be okay in that department. Over on this side, again, fits in there real nice. It's very nice and centered. It clears up front. But the issues that we're gonna have and the issues that I'm gonna have to deal with are clearance with the exhaust and the intake, and I'll show you. So this right here is a carburetor. These come with a big plastic air box, you know, because these are meant to just stick on push mowers and stuff, and put your blade on it, you're good to go. So I'm going to have to design a custom intake to bring this up and around somewhere. The other option was to cut into this hood, and I just cannot bring myself to do it, especially with this being fiberglass. I don't want to modify this hood at all. The exhaust was no different. It was also going to hit the hood here. We've got a little bit more room to make something work here, but I'm probably going to have to build something to bring it out, down and around. You know what I mean? Something kind of custom. But it's definitely possible, and it should work. Now, I would have loved to have found an electric start engine that would have fit in this. I think it would have been cool to put a battery on it and all that good stuff. It's just not going to be possible with the amount of room we have. Also, the pull start, there should be plenty of room to be able to start the engine. So all that will be fine. It's just going to be building a custom intake and exhaust. So I've already got the engine where I want it. I've got some tape down here so we can make some marks. We're going to go ahead and get some holes drilled and get this thing bolted down and in place. Yeah, hopefully I marked them in the right spot. I guess there's only one way to find out, huh? I'm not used to working on stuff with nice paint. All right, see if I can set this right back down where it goes without scratching the paint. Look at that, we're 4 for 4. All right, guys, we got the engine mounted. It ain't going anywhere, and it looks very good on there. But we're gonna come back to this later. I want to go ahead and put the wheels and tires on this thing and make it a roller again. It'll make it easier, that way I can stand it up whenever we go to do the linkage and the belt and all that stuff. So we'll have to come back to the intake and exhaust on this and do it later. Let's do wheels and tires. I cannot believe we're at this point. It is looking so much better, especially with the new wheels and tires. I mean, I had to go with the baby ag tires and the little baby tri-ribs up front. But yeah, so now I'm in a predicament because I'm here by myself and I got to somehow manage to pick this up and set it on the ground. And my ceiling hoist is in the wrong spot. Well, it may not look like much, but I'm pretty happy. We managed to get the steering gear back on. We got the steering linkage all hooked back up. We now have a functioning steering wheel, which is awesome. So now we can move on to trying to get this belt routed, get the clutch pedal put back on, all that good stuff. And man, we're chipping away at it today. Well, guys, I am very happy with the progress I've made. If you remember, this belt linkage, deck linkage, clutch engagement linkage was just so convoluted and so complicated. Since this thing's not going to have a deck on it, I was able to go through and get rid of a lot of the extra bracketry we didn't need, and I got it down to a pretty simple setup, and I'll show you. So this right here is our clutch/brake lever. Really, this bracket here is more or less now just to give a pivot point for this lever. But we've got this rod here that runs down to this linkage here. That's got a tensioner on it. This goes down to the only belt tensioner on this mower. We've got our belt keepers on it. So as I push the clutch lever, you can see that is going to give us slop in our belt, change gears, etc. Well, when you go more than just that, if you guys see down here, see that pulling that? That is attached to the brake rod. Now, I did notice after I got this put together that the brakes were not working. I ended up pulling the, whatever you call this, the caliper apart. The pins that push on the little brake pad were seized up, so I'd take that apart, clean it, and we've got working brakes now, which is awesome. So, but yeah, we're ready to go ahead and start fitting a pulley on the engine and doing some belt routing and figuring out what size belt we're going to need, and hopefully the ones I have are going to work. If not, we'll have to order one. But yeah, we're making a lot of progress, guys. Okay, on to the belt portion of this project here. This is the old pulley setup here off the original Tecumseh engine. This upper here was the drive for the rear end, and the bottom pulley was the deck drive. This pulley is 3.5 inches wide, and that's what I went with here. However, this new Predator engine is a 7/8 shaft instead of an inch, so I had to get me a new pulley. Not a big deal. You can see it's going to work just fine. However, I'm onto the game now of figuring out what size belt I need. Now, a year ago, I'd gone through and I ordered some new belts for this thing with the part numbers I found, and they are way too short. I think this one here is like a 52 inch or something. Way too short. I had an extra 82 inch belt sitting on the shelf off one of my side shaft tractors, and I'm guessing it's about 4 inches shorter than it should be. So I'm gonna do some more digging, see if I can't track down the proper size belt, but we are like this close to having this thing ready to come back down to get the final touches. I can't believe it, but we got it all together, guys. Ended up going with a 84-inch belt. Everything I found online says it should have an 83. I'm assuming by scooting, we probably scooted the engine up an inch or so. It's hard telling, but 84 is on there. If I pull the old clutch lever in, you see we got a slop in the belt. Honestly, I'm hoping this 84 stretches out a little bit because I think it is a little bit tight. But one more thing we got to do, I need to trim this bolt off right here because it's an interference with this belt. You got to figure out what size bolt to put in the crank and just go over everything, make sure I tighten everything up, and we can put this thing down on the ground, hopefully for the last time. Tell you what, I keep forgetting how tiny this thing is. It's my boot for scale. Anyway, we got it on all four wheels. You guys saw we got the belt put back on, and I'm now doing the painstaking thing of buttoning everything up. Got the throttle cable ran. I know I said I was going to use this factory gas tank. I am not. I'm going to use the original one that came on this. And we've also got to do some modifications to the engine, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, since this engine is technically meant for a push mower, it has got what's called an engine brake on it. You see it right here. This is what, you know, on your push mower, you've got that lever you pull on the handles. That's what that's pulling. It's actually got a brake stone or a brake pad that actually grabs the flywheel, and usually that's also connected to a kill wire that goes to the ignition coil, so it stops the blade and it stops the sparks of the engine quit running as well. Since this is going on a riding mower, we need to bypass all of that. I'm going to attempt to, instead of doing something jank like wiring this open, I'm going to attempt to remove the brake off the flywheel, and we're also going to take the wire off the sensor and run it up here so I can put a traditional kill switch on the column. Feels like the camera's a mile away because it's so low to the ground. But this right here is the brake. All it is this spring and this linkage. And it's got a little brake pad here. And as you let go of that lever, it goes against the flywheel, which stops it, and you're not gonna be able to see it. Your coil wire is ran down here, and it's hooked up to this stop. So whenever this stone is completely closed, it sends the spark to ground and it stops running the engine as well. Zip tie that like so. Let's go ahead and get a new wire ran. Well, quick update. We have made a lot of progress. I started putting the dash panel back together. I've got the throttle hooked up. I've got my wires ran for the kill switch. Used a couple nice cush clamps. This wire wraps up and around. This right here is going to be the ground for the kill switch. Also, got the exhaust figured out. Not my finest work, but it'll be just fine. So now really the last holdup we have is figuring out an air filter for this thing. As you guys can see here, I did go ahead and cut out a bracket to make. I was going to try to put an elbow in here to run to an air filter, but there is just no room. Between the hood and the face of this is only 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches. So I'm either going to have to get a real tight elbow to shoot something out this way. I don't know what I want to do. It seems like to do what I want is we're gonna dig in a lot further than I want to, and I'm trying to make this thing look somewhat factory for the most part. So again, I haven't quite figured out what I want to do there, but we are getting closer and closer to actually starting this thing. Well guys, it's the next day. I made a lot of progress on this thing yesterday. We got the kill switch wiring done, we got the fuel tank put on it, I've got an exhaust put on it. We're ready to kind of move on. I do want to show you guys something I'm not completely proud of, and that's my intake. So I've told you about the issue I had with clearance. this is going to do for now. I have got some foam material over the carburetor with an adapter plate I made, so it's sealed up. It's not going to suck any dirt in. Obviously, I want to do something about that in the future, but for now, it's going to do just fine. And I have been waiting for this moment ever since I started this project. I bought all new decals for this thing. If you guys are in the middle of a restoration on your Wheelhorse or Cub Cadet, any older garden tractor, there's a website I want to tell you about. It's redoyourhorse.com. I just want to come out front and clarify that he didn't sponsor me. I paid full price for this. Anytime I come across an awesome person or a good business, I want to share it with you guys. He makes all this stuff in-house. As far as I know, he's a one-man show. He knocked out of the park with these decals. I mean, very high quality. I'm very excited to get these put on. Everybody does decals different. This is how I do it. I use a little bit of soap water. That way I can kind of maneuver the sticker once I put it on there before I fully stick it. If you ever tackle this. But all I've got here is just a nice squeegee. It's got a nice foam tip on it. That way you don't scratch up the decal. Now I'm just going to go through and squeegee all the air and soap water out underneath of it. According to the manual, they recommend 10W30. It takes 0.6 of a quart. So I think that's what I got in here.
It's not going on.
Well guys, it's finally done. The very first clip of this video I took on August 20th of 2024. So it hasn't quite been a year. It's been 9 months since I started this thing. And to be honest, I'm just happy to have the garage picked up. I had parts for this thing scattered everywhere. This thing ate up a whole corner in the shop. You guys probably seen it in the background on the last 3 or 4 videos. And I finally got some time off from work so I could buckle down and just get it done. And I am extremely happy with how this thing turned out. So when I first started this project, I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I just knew I wanted to restore it. Well, at some point during that time, a certain someone, I'm not going to say names, decided that it should be their tractor. And it being the smallest one of my fleet, it just kind of made sense. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I know in the beginning it kind of started out as an in-depth kind of project, and then towards the end I just started speed running it. I didn't film every nut and bolt, and had I done that, this would end up being a 3-hour long video. So yeah guys, I appreciate those who stuck around and watched the whole video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment down below what you think about it. And yeah, let's go do it for this one. I will see you on the next one.